On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, Matt will break down the Maul Shadow Lord trailer and all the key details you may have missed about the show's new planet and characters. Is Devon the new Talon? Tune in to hear the speculations. Punch it, Chewie. Hey now, everybody! Let's go! Welcome back to the Star Wars Time Show. Hey now, hey now, hey now, hey now. What up, Kramer? Good to see you in there, brother. I can always count on you. Showing up for the live, supporting the SWTS. All right. Holy hell. I've got so much to say. Don't know how much I want to. I don't know. Like some of you living over here, it's just getting... It's getting really difficult to keep doing shit like this and pretending that our society isn't crumbling in front of us. You know, like, I know we can all use the lame excuse, well, like, hey, I do this to give you an escape, and that might have worked a few years ago, but what's going on right now in America is, it's fucking troubling, you know? I think you can tell. Like, usually I'm shot out of a cannon when we start a show, but I just, like, it's just getting fucking tough. It's getting really hard to kind of keep a straight face on and smile and pretend that we're not living through a nightmare scenario if you're someone that's like me, I guess, and opens your eyes and sees exactly what's going on and doesn't listen to your overlords to tell you that what you see is not really what you're seeing. We've failed. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, the human race is fucked up to begin with. But we haven't learned a goddamn thing from history, and we never will. And I don't know, it's just a shame to be living through this shit. It really is. Like, but it's kind of, fuck, I can't even talk. It's kind of like what Gandalf says to Frodo. It's like, hey, sorry. I don't know. It's like, hey, we don't choose when we're alive, but here we are. I don't know. I'll get there. I'll get there today. I'm sorry. It's just been. I'm just fucked. Like, I'm fucked in the head. There's nothing really funny about any of this anymore, and I don't know. I don't have a lot of hope. I don't have a lot of hope. So, I'll keep trying. Not that anyone watches this dumb show anyways, but it's just I don't know if it's worth it anymore. So, guess we'll leave it at that. Sorry, I know. Lot of dead air coming here as I try to compose myself, but, as excited as I want to be about Maul and all this pop culture shit, it's, I can't. Like, I just can't do it. It's like I debated even going live this week. It's like, why? Why? You know, who gives a fuck about a Maul series? When we got people being executed and shot weekly now by the federal government. We've got people that literally are okay with kids being slaughtered in school because of 2A, and now because their overlords say, hey, you didn't, what you saw isn't what you saw. They're like, oh yeah, well maybe you shouldn't carry guns. And just like the hypocrisy that we live in over here can drive sane people like me absolutely batshit crazy. Like, I just don't understand what's going on with some people. It's fucking crazy. We can throw out, get all hyper about it's the Twilight Zone, blah blah blah. I mean, look, it's not the Twilight. This is humanity. This is this country. We've always been this way. It's just we were under the illusion that these types of ideals and rhetoric and violence were vanquished back in the 40s or maybe back in the 60s with the civil rights movements. And it's like, no, they've just been buried undercover, waiting their time for a movement that would allow them to be the people that they really are. And now you can see what that turns into. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you, when you're growing up and you're reading about World War II, you're like, how the fuck could that happen? How could Germans let that happen? And now you could say the same thing about Americans. The country that has posited itself as the beacon on the hill, God's nation. And I don't know. It's just, it's fucked, and it's screwing me up, and I'm sorry. Even this shit I feel like could get me in trouble. I mean, I think the reason we've purposely been less politically on this show is partly because of where I live and some state laws that are now in place that can affect my profession. And that too is just fucked up to think about if you're an American and you believe in what the Constitution lays bare. And someone like me, scared to speak my mind. You're not going to get this type of reality on other Star Wars shows. I promise you that, especially from the younger creators. I don't know. I can't fucking put the mask on today. So this opening segment is going to suck. I digress, I got to shift gears, or I'll just start boo-hooing here on this platform in front of the 3 people that still support me. So, all right, let's give it a try. You know how we kick things off here. We like to do a little Ask Us Anything. If you want to get involved, who gives a shit? I mean, honestly, who fucking cares? It's not like anyone sees the posts anyways, and thanks to those that continually ask questions to make me feel like someone's listening still. So let's go to the questions, I guess. All right. Let's watch my tech fail here. Shit, I'm sorry, people. This is not the way I wanted to start. I didn't think I'd get that emotional right off the bat, but clearly this shit's been weighing on me. All right, hey, got a new subscriber, Kavid Abdul. Yay. Thank you. All right. Kramer asking, hey, we're going to get Nick a gag gift for his wedding. Want to join us? Maybe. Maybe. If we make it to Nick's wedding. If we make it. All right, let's go. Like I said, I'm gonna kind of put that behind me for a little bit. I just had to kind of lay it out there. Hopefully, I'm not locked up or fired or ratted out on by a fellow citizen. So let's do it. Ask us anything. Like I said, we do it every week. You just got to check our socials. Make sure you're following on all platforms. Turn on those notifications because you're not going to fucking see it. The technocracy, they block it. You know, I'm nobody, and it's always going to remain that way. But we do have one from Blanche, the wife of our boy Spencer. She's asking, most recent intrusive thought and what stopped you from following through with said thought? Well, I guess we could go back and rewind the show. I mean, I can't tell you how bad I just want to rail on what the fuck is happening every single day, but I don't feel like I can because of where I live. But if you want like the fun thought, I mean, yesterday I was skiing and there are little kids, you know, jagging around in line. And I so very badly wanted to just push the one of them and have them all domino over in the queue to get on the ski lift. I'm also a man, so anytime someone from the opposite sex crosses my path, there's a good chance an intrusive thought is running through both this head and the little head downstairs. So there's that. Yeah, Bango, I know what you're like. I don't even know how you deal with where you work. Bango's saying, hey, you know, he's in a similar boat to me. Just separate yourself from your employer. Make sure you're in the line with the terms of employment and let her rip. The problem is, Bango, is my state literally passed a law last year where I can be reported to the state by students or the community if they don't like what I'm saying, be it opinion or fact. It's actually on my evaluations now as well. So, but like I said, I mean, Bango being in law enforcement and seeing what, you know, the freezer people are doing when they don't have jurisdiction to do what they're doing, and then hell, a bunch of boys and women in blue are either supporting it or standing by and not protecting their communities. Like, it's just like, what the fuck? So, all right, next question. Yeah, Star Wars Time Show. It's fucking fun over here, isn't it? Woohoo! Yeah! Yeah, Star Wars. There's always time for it. Or is there? I don't fucking think there is anymore. It's not time for fucking Star Wars time. You know what it's time for? It's time for Andor time. Luke Skywalker time. Princess Leia fucking time. All right. Here we go. Hey, we got a new question from someone that I don't think is a diehard. So yay, yay. Our messaging got outside the fucking echo chamber of 4 people. We've got NASCAR Talk with Jack Sabo. Y'all might have discussed this before, but do you think Maul's death did the character justice, or would it have been better with an unclear ending? NASCAR Talk, hopefully I didn't just rub you the wrong way with my opening, but I really think Maul's death in Rebels was perfect. You know, 10 out of 10. I think it did justice for the character, kind of brought him full circle. The fact that it was with Obi-Wan and his obsession with Obi-Wan, which as we learned or saw, or maybe we'll see even more in Maul Shadow Lord, literally dictated his life. Like, he was so obsessed with getting retribution on Obi-Wan that every choice he made after he got cut in half was geared towards that. So the fact that Maul dies in Obi-Wan's arms, literally saying like, hey man, can you make sure you take care of the Chosen One? Because we all know Maul knew how dangerous Anakin as Vader would become. That was revealed in the Siege of Mandalore arc from the Clone Wars. And like I said, hopefully they'll play more on Maul's hate of Vader and Palpatine and Maul Shadow Lord. You know, again, not like Maul's some great person. He's terrible. He's evil. But he at least saw what was coming down the pipe with the Sith. So I do think it did Maul justice, and you know, hopefully we get some more layers on the character in Shadow Lord, which naturally we will, or why are they even doing it? All right, here's my man Kramer bringing in the football questions. You know he does it all the time, and I appreciate it. It's gonna be rough, Kramer, when the season's over in 2 weeks, and I don't know what sport you're gonna have to ask about now. Maybe the draft or college football. Who knows? But Kramer's asking, thoughts on the AFC and NFC championship games. Again, I really was bummed out for Denver. I mean, if you watch that game and you saw how it played out, even with a backup, it was only, 3-point different. I really think with Bo Nix, Denver, there's a good chance they might have even rolled the Patriots. And yeah, I'm a fucking Patriots hater. I'm a Steelers fan through and through, even though I suffered for many decades under Mike Tomlin. But I hate the Patriots because they're good. All right. I mean, in my opinion, the Patriots robbed the Steelers of at least 2 Super Bowls when they had a functioning championship squad under Big Ben in his early years. So it kind of makes me ill and at the same time jealous that New England in 3 years turned a dumpster fire around, got some good draft picks by losing and making bad coaching decisions, and then making a good coaching decision, and here we are. I mean, it just goes to show you, if you have a good coach and a AAA type of quarterback talent, a young guy like Drake May, that's the NFL these days. That's how you're going to be successful. So I hate that the Patriots are already back to success. Hey there, Nagato 2015. Thoughts on the Darth Maul trailer? I dug it. In fact, I dug it so much, I'm going to be doing a deep dive on it here in a little bit once we get through these opening segments. So hopefully I don't bore you too long with Ask Us Anything, but I'll be getting there probably about 10 to 15 minutes. We're going to go through all the concrete details we know about Maul Shadow Lord, and then the trailer itself. I'll be going through, still by still to kind of give me my thoughts on that. So I will be getting there. But to finish Kramer's question here, thoughts on the Mike McCarthy hire? Fucking hate it. I feel like it's just going to be the exact same thing as what Tomlin brought to the organization. And finally, Kramer, I have not started my Mando rewatch yet. I don't even know if I'm going to. I mean, like I said, I'm trying to pretend life's normal and I can lose myself in things like Star Wars, or even I rewatched all the Lord of the Rings this past weekend, but I don't know, it's still, once Monday comes back around, it's like, oh yeah, that's right, we're still here and it's 2026. All right, next question here coming from Divide Skywalker. What has been your favorite Maul appearance so far? Phantom Menace, Clone Wars, Rebels, Solo? I honestly, I know he got way more screen time in Clone Wars, but I think I'm going to go Rebels. I really love the Maul arc in Rebels. Everything from him kind of playing like this crazy, kooky Maul, searching for the Sith holocron, to more or less forming a bond, a partnership with Ezra. And then, of course, his death at the hands of Kenobi. I think that to me was the most dynamic portrayal of Maul. He wasn't just the raw dark side animal that we got in Phantom Menace. He wasn't, the crime lord, the conqueror of Mandalore that we got in Clone Wars. In Rebels, you can see, I mean, he's so damaged and consumed by his hate for Obi-Wan that he more or less gave up all the power and control he had with Crimson Dawn and in the underworld. So divided, I'm going with Rebels Maul as my favorite appearance so far. Next question here. I think this has come from Spencer. How's the snow ice in your neck of the woods? It was pretty intense. We got the storm, Snowmageddon, whatever you want to call it, Winter Storm Fern, came through my part of the country on Sunday and dumped about 15 inches. We did not get a lot of ice, which was nice. But now we have like the negative temperatures. So my kids' school district, they've been canceled through today. They're on a 2-hour delay on Thursday. Who knows if they end up canceling it too. I work at a college. They were canceled Monday and Tuesday. So pretty intense. Lots of shoveling snow, but I am glad I got to get out and ski in this a little bit. Follow up here, Spencer's asking, what's a fuck around and find out moment you remember from your kid? Honestly, and it makes me sad to admit this, but me being her dad and acting like a fucking animal when she was young, I've said this before. she'd have an accident, get hurt, start crying, and I would run up into the room and literally just be like, what are you doing? Why are you screwing around? Just a complete fucking monster. So I think that was her, unfortunately, fuck around and find out that her dad is an animal. So hate to be that honest, but that's where we're at. All right, Bango's got one here in the live stream chat. If you want to join the live stream, who knows? Some weeks we do live, some we do recorded. I don't know what the fuck's going on anymore at the SWTS. It's just like, hey, it all depends on the schedule and kind of what I feel like doing on a Monday. I didn't feel like doing a show on Monday, so I'm here live. But anyways, Wednesdays, 6 p. East, or as close as we can get, you can always expect some form of content from the SWTS. So don't forget, youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. But Bango's asking me, hey, Matt, you into hockey at all? Yes, sir, I am. And every time I see your post about the Canadians, I want to vomit. I remember the Canadians a few years back knocking the Pens out of the playoffs. Again, being from Pittsburgh, so I'm going to be a hardcore Penguins fan. I remember their 2-year run was at like 16-17 when they won the Cup back-to-back. There's really nothing better to me than playoff hockey. I fucking love playoff hockey, but the Penguins have sucked for 3 or 4 years now, so I've kind of fallen out of tuning into the sport. But I do really, really dig hockey. I'd say gun to head, my second favorite sport to watch. Football is always going to be number one, but hockey would be number 2 for sure. Okay, so that wraps our Ask Us Anything type of nonsense. So we'll go ahead and shift back to our other segments here in the Star Wars Time Show. All right, people. So up first, just a little quickie here. If you've been here before, you know kind of like what we get into when we kick off a show, outside of me sitting here and crying. Are they, TJ? All right, I'll have to check them out. Like I live in Columbus now, so I get these shit ass Blue Jackets. But I mean, I guess the one upside is that the Pens come to town a few times a year. But like I said, I mean, the past 3 years or whatever, when they've blown and didn't even sniff the playoffs, I just kind of tuned out. So TJ, I'll have to tune back in, see where their point total is at, and if it's worth diving back in. So thanks for the update there. But anyways, real quick, like I said, before we get into the breakdown of Maul, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about a new movie release. And so Mercy came out last week, and like some of you, all right, TJ, tune the Metro, thank you. Let's go Pens. Let's go Pens. Let's go Pens. Let's go Pens. Anyway, so I checked out Mercy last week, starring Chris Pratt, everyone's not favorite Chris, and Rebecca Ferguson, everyone's favorite Rebecca. And like if you've read the critical reviews of Mercy, you would think it is one of the worst movies ever put out. If you read the, I'm talking like on whatever it is, Rotten Tomatoes, the fans seem to enjoy it. And overall, I mean, outside of Chris Pratt being in it and his smug, stupid ass that says dumb shit in his personal life, I kind of dug the movie. I think it was kind of a look into what the world will become here soon with artificial intelligence and more of a surveillance state that's going to be taking place, that's already taken place. Like, there's a reason a lot of those agents out in towns like in Minneapolis and in California, wherever they're at, are now recording protesters. It's to, create a massive digital database of dissenters. And while Mercy, it's more about crime, it goes to show you how just relying on AI to make decisions in a case, for example, if someone's guilty or not guilty and they're immediately executed, can be off, and how human interaction is still kind of important. So while Mercy, overall isn't just some crazy ass banger that everyone needs to run out and see, I think the critics are being overly negative because Chris Pratt's the star, and that's fine. I mean, he's a douchebag. But I think the story it tells, there's a few twists, a few turns. I enjoyed it. So, if it shows up on a streamer, it's probably worth checking out. All right, let's get into the Star Wars stuff. You know what I mean? Let's actually try to have some fun here, not all this boohoo bullshit. All right, so last week, I think, what was it? Thursday, we got the Maul Shadow Lord trailer. I did a reaction to it, kind of my initial breakdown, thanks to the 10 people that checked it out. Again, all our content's suppressed, even though we don't actively talk shit. So just look it up, Bango. Look at some recent statements from Chris Pratt on be it religion or his support for certain people in the government. But anyway, like I said, let's get the hell away from all that stuff. Let's try to focus on Maul, because Maul's the man. He deserves our attention. He deserves a great analysis, breakdown, speculation, deep dive, whatever you want to call it. So before I get into picking apart the trailer itself, I do just want to go through the article, because a lot of times people they'll just watch a trailer and they don't know that there's a post behind it, there's a news release, and they just start making shit up or saying things that aren't true. So StarWars.com did put out an article last week that had some pretty good insights on what Maul Shadow Lord's about in terms of its setting, the timeline, the characters, what to expect, the animation style. So rather than just jumping right into the trailer and kind of picking apart the stills and saying, hey, this is this, this is that, that's this, they said this, let's just go through and do a little, kind of media comprehension here. All right. So, first things first, we got the due date and we got the release cadence. It seems that, I don't know what's going on at Lucasfilm, or maybe it's a Disney Plus thing with Star Wars now, but if a new show's coming out, they are jamming it through the pipeline. It's no more one episode a week. It's on for, 2 months, 3 months. Just like Andor, Maul Shadow Lord is going to debut on, April 6th. And it's going to drop 2 episodes a week for 5 weeks straight until May the 4th when it ends. So we're getting 10 episodes total, but they're going to be covered over 5 weeks' time, which, hey, it's great. It doesn't draw things out for people like me that like to make content. It might be a little more work early on, but you're not going to be making content for a show for months at a time. So that's kind of nice. But it does seem now that Disney's not screwing around anymore with these Star Wars TV series or streaming series. They're just like, all right, we made it. We're going to pump it out as fast as possible. So that's the first thing you need to know. It's debuting on April 6th with 2 episodes, and then we're going to get 2 episodes a week every Tuesday until May the 4th. So 10 episodes total. In terms of the visuals, if you did watch the trailer, you're probably going like, whoa, this looks a little different than Bad Batch. It definitely looks different than Rebels. It looks different than, the Clone Wars. Here's a good shot right here from the official article. You can see it. And apparently what's going on here at Lucasfilm and the VFX companies working on this, they are literally using old school painting on glass techniques. So, there's a quote in here that says, cinematography, lighting, and VFX director Joel Aaron really took it up a notch with going back to the practical ways of capturing brushstrokes by painting them on glass, shooting them, then strategically placing them in shots. So that's insane. They went on to say he even went back to establishing matte paintings on canvas. So that's why this series and that trailer looks so different. I mean, they're literally using old school practical animation techniques and kind of marrying them with modern day, computer graphics. And I think that's a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of getting the best of both worlds, the efficiency of the modern digital age, but kind of that classical artistic presentation that we used to get when they would paint them on glass panels and they'd be animated from there. So that's pretty sweet. The other bit of news is it's confirmed from director Brad Raw that this show is highly serialized. So it's going to be very connected all the way through. So these 10 episodes aren't going to be bouncing all over the galaxy and introducing a new story in, in episode 3, another one in episode 5, another one in 6. It is going to be episode 1 bleeds into 2, bleeds into 3, bleeds into 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which I love. I love how things build in a serialized approach. So it's very much in the vein of what George made Star Wars for, or in homage to. I mean, he's always said serials like Flash Gordon, stuff when he was a kid, that's what motivated him to tell his story of Star Wars and how each movie picked up after the last. So I kind of dig that too. We also learned that we're going to get a brand new planet in this series, and it's called Janix. You saw it throughout the trailer. I'm sure we'll talk about it more when I get into the deep dive part of this breakdown. But we're getting a new planet, and this new planet is unique, especially for the time period that this series is taking place in. In fact, listen to how Janix is being described by the show's creators. It's 1 part Gotham, 1 part Metropolis, and 100% Star Wars with all these different levels and layers. It's a city essentially built into a crater on this planet that is untouched by the Empire. It's got a functioning democracy and law enforcement doing a good job of policing their own community. It's a rich environment for crime and gangsters, but so far there's been a very peaceful accord between all of them in the interest of business. So Janix, to me, is a very unique planet in Star Wars, especially for this time period where, we're just a few years beyond the rise of the Empire, Order 66, stuff like that. To think that there's planets out there that could exist untouched by the Empire, and where, criminal crime syndicates, the underworld could kind of thrive, but there was also democracy and there was a police force, and it sounds like people were greasing each other up, but that was kind of the peace, the accord that everyone made. So I think Janix is a fantastic location for someone like Maul, who, let's remember, is already a crime lord coming into this series. I mean, he was running Crimson Dawn back in the Clone Wars, so on and so forth, or he was trying to start his own crime syndicate. So we know this is what he's doing. So Janix sounds like a fantastic planet to either rebuild Maul's criminal empire or expand it. Because he's going to be allowed to more or less work unchecked. The other criminal syndicates are going to be there to either cut deals or cut them out completely, if you know what I mean. So I think this planet is going to be very interesting and, like I said, unique for Star Wars fans to experience, because let's face it, most planets are either full on, Imperial homers, or, you'll have Outer Rim stuff, planets like Tatooine, where there is somewhat of an Imperial presence, but it's still far enough away from the core worlds that some shady shit can go down. Janix is not a Tatooine. I mean, it looks very populated. I mean, if it's being compared to Gotham and Metropolis, I mean, it's massive. It's going to be sprawling, whether it's underground or not. So, like I said, I dig that. I dig how Janix is more or less going to be a character itself to help tell more of the story of how Maul rose to power at Crimson Dawn and more or less started controlling the parts of the criminal underworld. In terms of timeline or the setting of Maul Shadow Lord, I know there's been some confusion, and I think we can blame, I hate to say this, Sam Witwer, the voice of Maul, the real Maul these days. It was like, I don't know, it was in an interview. He's like, yeah, I think it's a year after Order 66, right? But in this article, it's described as, I'll just read it. In addition to the crime syndicates and Maul's undoubtedly underhanded dealings on Janix, the series will incorporate the burgeoning empire in the period a few short years after Order 66, with appearances by Marrok, who first appeared in Ahsoka Season 1, and the Inquisitorious. So, I don't know about you people. You can challenge my media comprehension or media literacy. But when it says a few short years after Order 66, to me, that means more than 1, more than 2, probably around 3, right? Because typically you'd say 2 years over 2, 1 year is 1. Few has kind of become synonymous with 3 or more. So I think Sam might have been incorrect in whatever interview I'm trying to recount that he talked about the time period of Maul's Shadow Lord. So it's going to be about, in my opinion, 3 years after Order 66, after Maul escaped from Ahsoka and Rex. So time has passed. The Empire is rising. The Bad Batch have kind of done their thing, so they're going to be out of the picture. But we are going to get some Imperial interaction in this series through the Inquisitorious, as we even saw in the trailers. I mean, hell, they go to battle with them, which I love because it makes complete sense if you follow up to Maul's appearance in Rebels, where he's literally being hunted by what it was the seventh sister and eighth brother or something like that, or fifth brother and seventh sister, to kill Maul when he was on Malachor. So if you think about that, Maul more or less has been battling with the Inquisitorious probably just as much as Force users Jedi on the run. I mean, they want him out. The Emperor wants him gone just as much, if not more so, than the Padawans that are bumblefucking around the galaxy or the few masters that got away. So it's cool to know that Maul, like Jedi, even though he was a former Sith and Darkside savant, has been hunted by the Inquisitorious more or less since its inception. So, and Marrok's going to be back in it. And apparently he is the first brother, even though we see that other guy in there with like kind of it's almost like a crow's mask that we saw in Tales of the Jedi for the first time in the Ahsoka shorts. He was supposed to be the first brother. Marrok's the first brother. Who knows? It doesn't matter. They both look cool, and we know they both end up getting wiped out by Ahsoka. That's also an interesting fact. If you think about it, she kills the mask-wearing dude who just disappears in Tales of the Jedi, and then many, many years later, even after the events of the Rebellion, Return of the Jedi, she ends up taking out Marrok in her own series. So pretty neat stuff there. But more kind of on what the Inquisitorious and the Empire will be up to in Maul Shadow Lord. So the Empire is consolidating the galaxy from core worlds out, and the Inquisitorious is stronger than ever. They're hunting Jedi and other Force users, doing all kinds of nasty work. The galaxy at large is sort of dealing with the slow rise of the Empire, and different groups have different understandings of what the Empire is. The same thing goes for the Inquisitors. They're secret mercenaries that show up out of the darkness. All right, so I'm excited by that. I mean, I don't need a ton of Imperial involvement in this series. I kind of want to keep it local to Janix and the shit Maul's getting into. But it is good to know that Maul is going to be on the radar of the Emperor himself, and he's going to try to deal with him. So we are going to get some exposure to the Empire and kind of the atrocities they're committing, even when they're going after an evil person. Right? There's like, Sidious can't clear the board enough to enact his rule of two and kind of dominate the galaxy. He's got to get Maul out of here, and he's going to use his new faction, helmed by his boy Vader, to take them out. So some other things here. We got some of the new character names. Obviously, we know Maul's going to be in here. But there are some new characters, with Devon Izara probably being the biggest one. That is the young Twi'lek who clearly was a former Jedi Padawan. Some may say she's the new Darth Talon. Not Darth Talon, but, if Talon truly is EU Legends material at this point, I honestly think Devon Izara is her fill-in, if you will, to become Maul's apprentice, or at least Maul's first attempt at finding an apprentice. So Devon Izara is clearly going to be a major character in the Maul series, and I think most of the interactions are going to be Maul trying to convince her that, hey, I know you used to be a Jedi, and I know what you think about me, but this is our new reality. We need to do something about it. We've got this power. Let's kind of take control of our destinies. And hell, maybe he'll even make the same pitch that he did to Ahsoka, like, hey, join me, and with our power, we can go take out Palpatine and Vader. So we're going to get a much more fleshed out Maul, I think, than we've ever seen. I think we're going to see a lot of stuff that kind of he learned from during his time with Palpatine in the Clone Wars. But we'll also see things that impact him and turned him into the almost psychotic Maul, hood-wearing Maul that we saw in Rebels. Oh, screw you, Bango. Screw the Habs, you dick. Move to Canada, man. So I can't wait to see these interactions, this relationship between Maul and Devon. I think he's going to handle his manipulation of her perfectly. And part of me thinks she's also going to believe what he's selling, and she's probably going to go against her former ideals. So Devon Azawa, I think, is probably going to be key character number 2 in this series. But in addition to her, there are 2 other mains that are being introduced. We've got Brander Lawson, who's being played by Wagner Moura, and then Richard Ayoade as Two Boots, which is his robot companion. So let's take a look at these guys. I mean, like I said, Marrok claiming he's the first brother, even on the Star Wars databank, so I guess there's that. Who knows what the other guy's called then. Devon, as we saw here, again, she is on the run from the Empire. She's conflicted. She's a former Jedi Padawan, so yeah, she's on the run and she's conflicted, and that's kind of a great mental state to be in for Maul to potentially influence and manipulate. I'm not sure what's going on with this Red. Maybe she's locked up. It kind of reminds me of seeing Barriss locked up back in Tales of the Empire, but I don't think Devon is actually captured by the Inquisitors. This could be some sort of jail or hell, who knows? Maybe a brothel on Janix. So that's Devon. Like I said, the other main character is going to be this Captain Brander Lawson, and he's a police detective on Janix, and his partner is going to be Two Boots. So, this show wouldn't be Star Wars if you didn't have a humanoid that had a wisecracking or a unique droid partner, and that's going to be our boy Two Boots right here, who is a police droid, 2BOT, and apparently he wears boots as his feet. So, hey, I'm not hating on you, Two Boots. If you don't like your metal feet and you want to strap on some boots, pull them up by those straps, as people like to say. So those are some of the new characters, but check this out. We're in those. To me, that's going to be the main cast. So Maul Shadow Lord, we obviously got Maul, we got Devon, we've got Brander, and we've got Two Boots. I think they're going to be the ones, the main cast that is driving the narrative in Maul Shadow Lord. Hey there, thank you, Jack Atkins, for the sub. We appreciate you. But check this out. There are going to be some side characters, starting with, you got to love this Jedi Master's name, Master Iko Diodaki. Master Iko Diodaki being voiced by Dennis Haysbert. We got Chris Diamatopoulos as Luti Vario. That seems like a brand new character to me. We have Charlie Bushnell as Riley Lawson. So based on the last name, I'm guessing Riley is either Brander's wife, family member, maybe a child, sister, who knows, but I'm guessing Riley Lawson is related to Brander. Here's one fans should recognize. Vanessa Marshall, aka the voice of Hera, is going to play Root Cast, who is another character you should be familiar with. And when we get to the trailer breakdown, Root Cast definitely makes an appearance in the trailer, and it makes complete sense if you understand her history and relationship with Maul. Root Cast, and who is the other one? Damn it, I can't believe I'm forgetting this Mandalorian or Mauldalorian's name. But it was Root Cast and the other guy. Is it Gar Saxon? Yeah, I think Gar Saxon. They're the ones that team up, and I believe this is a Legends comic now, but they're the ones that team up and free Maul from the prison that Palpatine threw him in after he kicked the shit out of Savage and Maul in the Clone Wars. So the fact that Root Cast is in this, I mean, she was one of Maul's direct lieutenants on Mandalore. And I dig that. It makes complete sense that she's going to be showing up, trying to get back in league with Maul. At this point in time, you got to think the Empire is taking over Mandalore. Gideon's probably fucking that shit up. And even though she turned on her own people with Death Watch and all that nonsense, when Maul took over, she's probably like, fuck this shit. Screw the Empire. How can we get back at them? How can I get back in power, get back what is mine? So I love that Rook is going to be in this. Then we have David Collins playing Spybot, AJ Lucascio as Marrok. And here we go, Steve Bloom, that's our boy Zeb. He'll be voicing a character known as Icarus. But I think all these are going to be side characters, not mains, meaning they might pop up in an episode or two or have a little bit of an arc, but the main focus isn't going to be on them. So there you go, just kind of laying out the groundwork here. So we know the location, we know the characters, we know what's happening in the galaxy at this point in time. It's about 3 years since Order 66, so the Empire is starting to expand out from the core worlds, taking over the galaxy. But we're going to be on a planet where they have not influenced yet. It kind of manages itself, and it's an odd democracy between criminals and the law. So very interesting. So at this point in time, let's go ahead and start diving through the trailer, checking out the stills, and really kind of start speculating on what the plot of Maul Shadowlord may be about. All right, so first up here, we get a shot of Janix, but also the reason this still is kind of important to look at, it just shows you those glass painted brushstrokes I just talked about. I mean, you look at this and it feels like a painting, even though it's an animated show. So this is Janix. Like I said, it's not a Tatooine. It's not some Boofus type of world where Maul's living in a hole. No, it's Gotham meets Metropolis, but with a Star Wars spin. And as I said, it's going to be unique. This isn't a planet where the good guys are fully in charge. There's literally a deal between the criminal underworld and the democratic institutions on Janix. They're like, hey, just as long as we don't mess with each other, everything's good. Don't screw up. We won't screw up. We can live here in peace, untouched by the Empire. So digging Janix, love the way it looks. It's going to provide some great visuals and obviously some moments, some narrative moments for Maul. So early on, again, we're in Janix. It looks like you got a crew. They're going into, they're scaling a building here. Potentially, this may kick off the series. Maybe some crime takes place or something that goes down that typically doesn't happen on Janix, which gets Brander Lawson involved. There's a good chance that Maul may be behind the incident that kind of has these people scoping things out, climbing down buildings, raiding rooms, if you know what I mean. Actually, the closer I look, these are Maul's people. If you look here, the people scaling the building, that's a Zabrak in the back. You can kind of see the horns up there. And up front, we could argue that might be Rootcast herself. If you look, she's kind of wearing two holsters on her side. You could argue there's a Mandalorian helmet on her head. So this is, who knows? Maybe it's episode 1. Maybe it's deep into the season. Maybe episode 3, 4. But it looks like some of Maul's henchmen or early buddies are going to be up to shenanigans on Janix, which, hey, makes sense. He's probably coming back from a little bit of an exile after the siege of Mandalore, and he's going to retry to build up his criminal underworld. All right, and as these are playing, we are getting some quotes. Maul's his narrative is, "Times have changed. I will show you the galaxy for what it truly is. See things from a new perspective." And I believe when he's saying these things, I think he's directly talking to Devon. Clearly, at some point in this series, season 1, he's going to become aware of Devon, either by her, putting on display of force or hearing about her maybe on the hollows. But he is going to kind of key into her and clearly get in touch with her, meet with her, and he's going to start kind of working her over, trying to manipulate her, bring him over to his way of thinking, even though his way of thinking is somewhat correct. Like he's not saying anything false here to Devon. Times have changed. Maul really did know what the galaxy was, what it truly was. I mean, he was the one trying to tell Ahsoka, like, listen, you're being bamboozled even by your own order. Your master is a problem. he is wanted by Sidious, and if Sidious gets him, things are going to go really bad. So while I do think Maul is definitely going to have to manipulate Devon, I don't think it's going to take that much work, because she's going to be like, you know what? This painted face guy he's kind of right, and I'm buying what he's selling. So we'll have to keep an eye on that dynamic between Maul and Devon for sure. But you can see here, I mean, clearly that's why I think we're 2 to 3 years past Order 66. We have TK troopers. Looks like they're possibly coming to Janix. The reason for that might be due to Maul sightings. It seems here deeper in the trailer, we can see Maul on the hologram. Captain Brander's like, hey, who is this guy? We need to figure this out. So Maul's probably going to do something on Janix that disrupts its ecosystem, both on the planet and in the galaxy. So much so that the police forces and probably the criminal underworlds on Janix are going to be looking for him at the same time. But also, it's probably going to tip off the Empire and the Emperor himself that, hey, this motherfucker's still out there. I thought I locked him up. He's a thorn in my side. I can't have a Maul going around the galaxy because, A, I know how strong he is, and I know he's good at manipulating. And if we let him build up his, criminal syndicate again, who knows what he could accomplish. So I'm kind of liking that angle, at least from the Imperial point of view, and why they're probably going to get mixed up with Maul, more than likely on Janix itself. Next shot here, you can just see what goes down probably on Janix on the daily. We've got, 2 different factions sitting at a table. Maybe they're trying to break bread, but one pulls a pistol on the other. So I think that's just going to be an indication of what life is like on Janix. The criminal syndicates are going to kind of handle their business. The police are there to make sure that they don't get too far out of bounds. But they'll also let things like this happen. They'll let the crime syndicates fight and kind of control their own business as long as they're not screwing with Janix as a whole. So then we move into some of the scenes, and I think that's when Maul actually makes the comment. He's doing some form, it appears like a Japanese tea ceremony. More than likely, Devon will be sitting across from him, maybe in the same room. Hell, maybe she's locked up, and this is him making his pitch to kind of gain her trust. But I do believe that's when he's explaining the times of change, and he's going to show the galaxy for what it truly is and allow her to see things from a new perspective. Because Devon is a Jedi Padawan on the run, so, I mean, she was raised in the temple, and she has the Jedi point of view. As soon as she sees Maul, she probably thinks, like, she almost probably wants to kill him. Like, no, you're bad. I heard about you. I heard what you did to Qui-Gon Jinn, you son of a bitch. So he's letting her know, like, hey, you've been kind of told to look at the galaxy through the lens of the Jedi. Let me actually peel those rose-colored glasses off and truly show you what the hell's going on here. So that's when you can hear Devon in the trailer say, is this what our future holds? Always running? Actually, that's not going to be to Maul. That's more than likely going to be to this Jedi Master Iko Daki Dookie, or whatever the hell I said his name was. What was it? I can't forget this name. It's pretty badass. Yeah, Master Iko Diodaki. Iko Diodaki. Iko Diodak. It's Master Iko Diodaki. Master Iko Diodaki. I believe that's probably, that was either Devon's master or at least a Force user that she linked up with after Order 66. So more than likely in the trailer, when you hear her say, like, hey, is this our life? Is this basically running, always running? All right, so the next still we have here, we definitely can see the Pikes here. So I don't know if the Pikes have set up shop as well on Janix, or if they kind of have territory, kind of like how the mob is. The mob's got this part of New York, or that part of New Jersey, or that part of Vegas. Janix may be the same way, might be split up. Hey, Hutts, you're here. Pikes, you're here. Crimson Dawn, you're here. And Maul is just going to disrupt all this stuff. And, Maul has worked with the Pikes before. They probably don't love each other. They definitely don't trust each other. So it's not clear in this shot from the trailer if the Pikes are coming after Maul or if Maul did something to the Pikes and this is them retaliating. But I do believe Maul is not here. Maul's not going to set up shop on Janix to become friends with these other syndicates. I think he's here, again, to consolidate control and become the dude. You know, the guy we see wearing the Crimson Dawn medallion at the end of Solo. So the more than likely, these pikes here are no friends of Maul, and Maul more than likely probably brought them here or kind of spurred on their retaliation. And the Empire is going to be involved more than just the Inquisitors. As we saw in the trailer, I mean, we got TK units here. So there's going to be troopers coming in. It's still not clear if this is the Empire finally getting involved on Janix or if this is taking place on a spaceship somewhere else. But you can expect to see some TKs in this series, which, hey, it's great. They might be a little more competent than our stormtroopers that we see in A New Hope, but based on Bad Batch, that's probably not going to be the case, because that's where we first saw this type of trooper. In fact, I think there's a new Hot Toys of this trooper. I might need to pick it up, because I kind of do dig the TK trooper's helmet a little bit more than the traditional stormtrooper. Anyone else out there? Is that sacrilegious to say? Am I a scumbag, if you will? All right, let's keep going through some of these slides here from the Maul Shadow Lord trailer. If you're just tuning in, trying to break down, deep dive into the Maul Shadow Lord trailer to speculate on what may be going on when the series drops April 6th on Disney Plus with a two-banger. So here we go. I believe this lizard-looking guy. This is that Master Ikodaki. Oh my God, it's making me throw up my lunch. Master Ikodaki Dori. He is reptilian. He does not look Trandoshan. He looks kind of like a new species here. He's got a cool little, almost like a Robin Hood style hat hood. And then you see Devon next to him. And I believe that's when she's saying, like, hey, is this what our future holds, always running? And I think at some point in time, she's probably going to break away from this master. And that's when Maul is going to kind of get his hooks into her. Honestly, I'll say it right here. There's a good chance Maul ends up killing Master Ikodaki Dori, or as a show of faith or loyalty, possibly having Devon involved in taking out her former master. Again, this is just pure speculation. Maybe we'll get more information, because you got to remember, everyone, there's a prequel comic coming out, I think next month, February, for this series that's supposed to set up the premiere of Maul Shadow Lord. So maybe we will learn more about Devon and her master in that, or maybe we'll just learn more about, Brander Lawson and the security forces on Janix or Janix itself. But I think I am going to go ahead and dive into that and get some Star Wars comic action breakdown going again. So make sure you stay tuned to the Star Wars Time Show for those insights. So early on in the series, I'm thinking Devon is with her master, but at some point they're probably going to get split up either through the Empire, the Inquisitorious, or Maul himself. You can also see here in the next still, if you're just listening to the podcast, there's a shot in the trailer where Devon is with Captain Brander Lawson, so the police guy on Janix, and there's a dude there. I'm guessing that's that Riley, so it's more than likely Lawson's son or a relative. But you can see Devon there. I mean, we've got some TKs coming down in a Republic gunship, and she pulls out her saber, so she's no fan of the Empire, and it's almost like she is protecting Lawson. So was Lawson after her, and now she has to protect him because the Empire's getting involved? Or Lawson and Devon, are they partners? Does he kind of look at her as like, oh, she was a Jedi Padawan, that means she's on the side of democracy, she can help me in my police activities, hell, maybe she can even help me track down this Maul character. Either way, for whatever reason, the Empire is directly after these three, trying to take them out, and Devon, being a good Jedi Padawan that she is kind of protecting them, it seems. And that's why, like I said, that's why Brander, Devon, Maul, and Two Boots, they're going to be the main characters. So it makes sense that at some point in time, Devon and Brander link up, and whatever ordeal they go through is going to kind of bond them, if you will. There's Brander Lawson again. I think, no, that's not when he makes that quote. But it's cool. I mean, again, you get more shots of what Janix looks like. I mean, it definitely has got some Vegas vibes with all the neon lights, but it's super dark because it's underground. So I'm just digging this planet already, and I don't really know jack about it. Next shot here. This is when it's the shot of we're at that tea ceremony again with Maul, and it focuses in on his lightsaber. And this is where he says, "I invite you to look more closely." And like I said, I believe he's directly talking to Devon, trying to convince her of the fact that, like, hey, I know what you've heard about me. I know how I look. I know what I've done. Maybe even on here on Janix, what I've done to cause problems. But listen to me. Shit's fucked up. I'll be your guide through this foobar period in the galaxy. You just gotta, look a little more closely and think about it. Maybe I can be your ally, and I can give you what you're looking for. All right, so we can see here there's a shot. I'm guessing this is Janix, although there is an Imperial presence. So considering the official, Star Wars databank saying Janix is untouched by the Empire, is this Janix then? Or is it because whatever Maul does early on in this series, does the Empire end up coming to Janix and causing problems for everybody, therefore making Maul public enemy number one? I'm thinking that's probably what's going to happen. So, they got Maul up on the holo. They got the TK troopers there. This is in the trailer where you can hear Janix security say, "What are we dealing with?" And then Brander replies, "Good question." So they don't even really understand who Maul is, or they don't know who he is, or comprehend what he can do beyond just motivating people. I mean, they more than likely don't know that he's a former Sith Lord, So, it's clever. He used to be a Sith Lord, now he's a Shadow Lord, and we're going to see him become this Shadow Lord. But either way, he's a bad man. We know that. We know he can cause some shit. So clearly, it makes sense that Brander and the Janix security forces are very concerned about this guy. Much more so, probably because he has invited the Empire to Janix, where they were not fucking around with it prior to Maul showing up. So yeah, like I said, he's just sitting there staring at Maul, studying Maul. What's going on? If you look to Brander's right, that is the Two Boots character. So that's going to be kind of the main droid character of this franchise or this series. And I kind of just want to check out his boots at this point in time. So moving on to the next still here. These security guys, I think this is the shot from the trailer where Maul opens his hatch and he comes out. These security guys definitely look like Janix security. In fact, the one there on the right, if you're looking on the live stream, is more than likely Two Boots. I mean, it's definitely a droid, and then we got a human. Does not seem to be Brander next to him. But this was easily one of the best parts of the trailer. If you watch my reaction, this is where I was just like, "Oh, hey now, there he is. There's my man Maul doing the fucking wing around, jumping at people, taking people out indiscriminately, not waiting for the fight to begin, rather bringing the fight to people." But if you look at this still I have up now on the live stream, the camera is down at Maul's feet. He's clearly walking off a spaceship, coming down to meet people. In between him and the people he's probably meeting, that's the Janix security forces. So Maul's behind the Janix security forces as they're pointing their weapons at another group of characters who also seem to be coming off of a ship. And if you look really, really closely, like super closely, I'll tell you right now, one of the characters is definitely Rook Cast, the short one there. If you look in the background, take it to the bank, that's going to be Rook Cast. I think to her right, that might be one of the Zabrak characters we see show up later in the trailer. So it seems to me either Maul comes to Janix to meet these people who have already been here, or they both agreed to like, hey, we're going to meet on Janix. And when they show up, Janix security isn't having it. And that's when, Maul's like, all right, let's get this party started. And I love that shot when he's coming out of the cockpit, walking down the ramp, fires up the lightsaber, crosses his face, and then just starts blocking blaster fire left and right, doing his bow baton twirl that Ray Park made famous, and then just jumping up and slashing all the Janix security forces to death. The action in this trailer speaks very well to what we are in store for when this series drops on April 6th. I think it's going to be some of the best animated action, Force user action that we've seen, since the Clone Wars. It may even be better. It's probably going to definitely be more raw because, again, it's going to be delivered via Maul and not the Jedi Order, who, outside of Anakin, tried to show some restraint. League's asking in the live stream chat, is this show going to show us the rise of Crimson Dawn? Yeah, I think so. I can't remember if Maul was already Crimson Dawn-ish in the Clone Wars or if he was just his own crime lord, kind of running Mandalore and all that stuff. The memory's a bit fuzzy. But I know in the final season of Clone Wars, like he was definitely chilling on Mandalore and working with the Pikes. I don't know if he was Crimson Dawn then. So I think you're on to something there, League. He's either, like I said, he's either going to increase his influence over Crimson Dawn, create Crimson Dawn, although I think they existed before him, or, take it over in full and just be like, okay, this is mine now. And everyone else that used to work here, you report to me or what? Thanks for the break here. It looks like Mate 56, is Maul a top 5 Star Wars character for you? Yeah, it's a good question. It's kind of, when we get to our fan segment to close out this week's episode, that's kind of what I asked the fans. So you're on to something here, mate. But for me personally, yeah, I think Maul is a top 5 Star Wars character, and I think this series is going to cement that. He's easily top 3, evil, dark side type of character. I mean, you got Vader, Maul, Sidious, Revans, those types. But top 5 overall, I think for me personally, yeah, Maul probably is at this point in time. And I think this series is just going to make the case even stronger for Maul rising the ranks in other fans' kind of personal favorite list. He's just a badass. And now that we have Sam kind of fully in control of the character, voicing the character, giving him life, spending way more time with the character than Rey ever did, you're just going to get a more fleshed out portrayal of the character in this series and hopefully get to know him better than we ever have before. All right, so the trailer moves on and you can see Devon here and it looks like Maul is approaching her and it does feel like she's locked up for whatever reason. And we got the red. So is she locked up on Coruscant, kind of like Barriss was in those facilities that were all red, or is it just in Star Wars universe? If you're a prisoner or locked up on some planets, the only light you get is red. Either way, it does feel like Maul is going to approach Devon after she's in a bit of a bind, which makes sense. It's going to make her vulnerable and allow him to kind of manipulate her more so than if he stole her away from her former master or friends. Because, he kind of shows up and she's like, what did she say? Maul? Maul? So clearly Devon knows who he is. I don't know if that's from her time with the Jedi Order or just hearing about him and what he's doing on Janix since he showed up. So, some other quotes we get Maul saying, "We have all been made to suffer. We survive, but do not live." So listen, I mean, Maul, while he's evil and he would take out any Jedi that crossed his path at this point in time, he too fully understands that living under 2 Sith isn't good for anyone, even evil people like him. Now, what are his ultimate motives? I mean, more than likely to be evil and rule his way, but he's making some good cases, and I think a lot of these cases are being directed at Devon, and I do think he is going to convince her to become his apprentice. And that's what makes it interesting, because those of you that are in the know about Maul and some plans that were supposed to happen in the sequel trilogy, if George was still around, or maybe in comics or Legends novels, but Maul does eventually link up with a Twi'lek apprentice, and it's Darth Talon. I mean, she's smoking hot, she's always wearing basically bikinis. She's red, and then I don't know if she does this in honor of Maul, but she kind of adds black tattoos all over her body. So it does kind of feel like Filoni and the creators of Maul Shadow Lord are, I don't know, is it a full-on retcon of Talon and Maul? And they're replacing Talon with Devon. I don't think Devon becomes Talon, because Talon was a Darth, and clearly Maul is no longer a Darth. But I don't think it's coincidence that in this series, the creators decided to make his potential apprentice a Twi'lek. I think that's a clear tip of the hat, a nod to super fans like, hey, it might not be Talon, but look, we're giving Maul a Twi'lek apprentice. That's just one of my speculations. League's like, is that Talon? I don't know the ins and outs of Twi'lek biology, so I don't know if they can change their skin color like a chameleon, but Devon is very clearly purple, where Talon is very clearly red. Like I said, I'm not that in the know on Talon. I don't know if she dyed herself or if her whole body was tattooed to look like Maul in honor of, her lord. But Devon to me is Devon. It's a new take on the character of Darth Talon, who, for what I know, I believe is just an EU/Legends character. So she's not really even canon. But like I said, for those that know your stuff about Star Wars, if George Lucas made the sequel trilogy, he was going to make Maul and Talon kind of the big bads, the ones that kind of fill the void of Palpatine being gone. So there's that. But like I said, I think this is a little bit of fan service, probably going to upset some traditionalists, but I do think Devon is meant to be a Talon-like character, but not Talon herself, if that makes sense. All right, so the trailer goes on. We can see a Star Destroyer hovering over a planet. Again, is this the top of Janix, or is this another planet that the Imperials are terrorizing? We were described that Janix is actually in a crater of a planet. This seems like we have buildings on the surface, but who knows? Maybe it's kind of like Coruscant, where Janix, the buildings have built up so high that they're starting to come out of their craters. So to me, it's not fully clear if all 10 episodes are going to take place on Janix, or if we'll bounce around the galaxy a bit, just, maybe just to check on the Empire. I'm not saying Maul and them are going to gallivant around the galaxy, but to kind of paint a picture more broadly, there might be some scenes like from the Empire's point of view, other planets, maybe captains that the Emperor wants to get involved on Janix. It might check in. So I can't say for sure if what we're looking at here is Janix, and the Empire's definitely here, and it seems like they've brought their nastiness to this society that was living without Imperial rule or invasion. So we'll just have to kind of see when things kick off in April. This shot here, I don't know if this is when Maul says, "We have all been made to suffer, we survive, but do not live." But if you look, he's talking over his shoulder to someone behind them. This is root cast for anyone not familiar. Definitely root cast. You can see she's kind of got her shoulder pauldrons on there, not wearing her helmet. But as I said earlier on, when we talked about her being involved, I love her involvement in this. I think it's a great connection back to the Clone Wars, some of the comics that told the story of Maul during that time. And as I said, I believe her and Gar Saxon are the ones that go and rescue Maul and bring him back to Mandalore so he can take it over to the point where the Republic through Ahsoka and Rex and the 332nd have to do the Siege of Mandalore. So I love that she's being brought back in. Will they finally expose her as the armorer in The Mandalorian, like some fans have been speculating? I don't know if people know that, but a lot of people think the Mandalorian, in The Mandalorian, the armorer character that, kind of the traditionalists, one of the Kool-Aid drinkers, is root cast. Who knows? I don't care if she ends up being revealed as the armorer or not. The fact that she's in this series to provide more connective tissue back to the Clone Wars and some other comics and books that involve Maul, I think it's a great touch. I love that type of kind of lore building and connective narratives in Star Wars. We get a shot of an early type of chicken walker and ATST. I forget what these ones are specifically called. They're a little boxier up at the top. But again, it shows you that we're definitely going to be more than 1 year into the Empire's rule. You're really starting to see some of the Empire war machines pop up that become iconic by the time, the original trilogy timeline kicks off. So It's still not clear to me, though. Is this war machine on Janix or a different planet? Here we got Devon again. Is she locked up? I think this is when Maul comes to confront her, so maybe she's locked up on Janix. And as I said earlier, this is going to kind of be his pitch. Like, hey, you see how screwed shit is. You may know about me and my past and what I used to do, but hear me out. This is what we're dealing with now, and it's way bigger of a problem than when it was just me pounding around with Sidious before he took over the galaxy. So why is she locked up? I don't know. Maybe using the Force. Maybe she did something on Janix, messing with the police. But that seems kind of weird because we saw her early in the trailer. It almost felt like she is working with Brander Lawson. So I'll be intrigued to see why Devon gets kind of put in this red room, if you will. Maybe it's because of this. Once the trailer kind of moves into more of its action beats, we can see her. I mean, she like force jumps onto a Republic gunship, cuts it open, throws out what appears to be a clone pilot, and either crashes it or commandeers it. Here we get a shot again. This is our boy, I believe, this lizard creature with this bow staff. I believe he is Master Ikodaki Dori, or whatever the hell I said it was. Clearly, he's a Jedi Master. I mean, he's sitting there meditating, and I think the next shot is of him shooting a Force at something, flipping up a car, causing a disturbance. Maybe this is what gets him killed. Maybe this is what gets him and Devon separated because he has revealed himself as a Force user. Is this why the Inquisitorious shows up on Janix initially and then they figure out Maul's there? Or will Maul be the one that kind of brings the Empire and the Inquisitorious to Janix because he outs himself and he's using the Force? And clearly, at this point in the galaxy timeline, you can't be a Force user unless you're Darth Vader or Darth Sidious. So all need to be removed, whether they practice the dark side or the light. But it looks like our Lizard Master here is definitely going to flex his skills at some point. Is it to save Devon? Is it to stop Maul? Is it to stop the Empire? Who knows? But he gets involved in a way that he's not going to be able to stay hidden as a Jedi Master. Next shot here is a great shot. I believe it's Maul contacting Brander Lawson. This is probably more than likely after Maul makes his big splash on Janix and kind of gets his name out there and his hollow out there. And he's probably coming to Brander to either cut a deal or make a threat. I just have a feeling there's something in me saying that maybe at some point in time, Brander and Maul might work together, or Brander is going to be kind of the local protagonist against Maul's antagonism, if you will. All right, so again, more of these action shots start kicking off in the trailer, and if you look, we're going to get a hallway scene, but if you froze the trailer, you would see Maul is with two Zabrak brothers. There's a bigger one, a smaller one. I believe these are the same characters we saw when Maul gets off that landing platform and all hell breaks loose with the Janix security. So it does look like Maul probably has some sort of plan on Janix to make a splash. And hell, this might be episode 1, episode 2. He shows up, meets his compatriots, and then they just start causing havoc. And as we saw through this scene, I mean, they break into this hallway for whatever reason and just start waylaying people. I mean, here's Maul, boom, see ya, security droid takes him out, and it does appear Maul is not only going to have 1, but 2 hallway scenes in Star Wars. So I think we all should be excited about that. But, the more I'm thinking about, the more I'm kind of piecing things together. It does look like Maul is going to kind of make his presence known on Janix by screwing things up, breaking in, killing people, stealing something, taking over a building, a sector, who knows. But he's bringing in help. He's bringing in other male Zabraks and definitely Root Cass, which I've got to dig. Hey there, Production R. Production R saying, I'm looking forward to the show. I like when Star Wars shows the universe and underworld. I think we need a Hutt show or a pirate show. Yeah, I mean, Production Rex, I don't know how old you are, how big of a fan, but at one point in time, George Lucas literally had a whole live action series plan to deal with just the kind of the underbelly of Coruscant and the shady dealings going on down there with the underworld and whatnot. So I think you're you're going to be getting what you're looking for almost exclusively in Shadow Lord. So again, Maul's here, more than likely causing havoc on Janix. That definitely looks like a Janix security droid. I doubt it's two boots getting wasted that early on. But expect another hallway scene featuring our man painted up. There you go. Again, another clear shot of a Zabrak brother. This one is red, unlike Maul. I mean, I'm sorry, this one's orange, unlike Maul, but we know that's kind of a thing from the Jedi Fallen Order series. So they're doing something. He's either making his presence known, trying to secure something. Maybe this is him trying to break out Devon. Who knows? But he's definitely going to cause a stir on Janix. Here you go again. I think this still, we see someone in a Mandalorian helmet using their flamethrower gauntlet on a droid, it appears. I believe this is the same scene where we see Maul come down the ramp of his ship and kind of get things started. So for whatever reason, Rook and Maul and his other compatriots chose to meet here at this time. Janix security shows up and, they kind of let him know, like, hey, now you're not going to stop us. We're here for a reason, and we're going to go ahead and execute our mission based on what Maul wants. But this just confirms 100%. We saw Rook in the trailer already, and she's definitely doing what Mandalorians do, and that's kick ass and not worry about taking names. Here we go. So I said early on, if you weren't here, we're going to get the... it's almost like a bird skull masked Inquisitor in this show. Some people say he's the first brother. The official Star Wars databank says Marrok is the first brother. Either way, we've seen this character before, so we know that Maul Shadow Lord is definitely taking place earlier in the timeline than Tales of the Jedi, when we see this character show up on whatever planet Ahsoka was on, and she kills him in like 2 seconds and he disappears. Maybe we'll learn more about this character. He's odd. He just kind of disappeared, I think Marrok, when he died, it's the same thing. Like, they just turned into gas. So I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's their species or if they were created by the dark side. But they literally just turn into black smoke when they die. So I doubt we get those types of insights. But either way, I like seeing that this guy is in here, just for the fact that it's going to give us a clear kind of timeline for this series and how other series like Tales of the Jedi might butt up to it. So this guy says, the Emperor wants you dead, and clearly he's saying that to Maul. That's where we get some of the action scenes with Maul taking on the Inquisitors. Here you can see clearly he's definitely dueling with Marrok, the first brother. Clearly Marrok is skilled. Is he skilled enough to take on Maul by himself? It didn't appear so in the trailer. In fact, there's a point in the trailer where they make it appear as if Maul strikes down Marrok, takes him out. Maybe that's why he's kind of a shadow person in Ahsoka. Maybe Maul actually does kill him and he's somehow resurrected in his suit. Who knows? But I do hope we get more insights into the early Inquisitors, especially the first brother here, both the mask-wearing one and Marrok. What are they? Does Maul actually kill Marrok and he's resurrected somehow down the road in Ahsoka? Because I do believe, doesn't green smoke come out of him when she kills him? So those are interesting things to kind of think about here. This shot, again, of a planet, it looks like we've got Republic... what do we got? Shuttles coming in, some Republic gunships. So this more than likely is Janix. You can see the crater here and how the city is kind of inside of it. You got to go into the belly of the planet to kind of get there. But I don't know. I mean, is this still the same place as this right here where we got the Star Destroyer hovering over it? Because clearly you can see mountains in the background and buildings coming up. So when you compare that to this still from the trailer, it doesn't seem like it's the same location. So, we'll just kind of have to see how things play out there. All right. So moving right along, we've got some other quotes coming in there. There's Maul. He's looking great. You got to love the guy. Hood up. That's definitely one of his best looks. But after the first brother says, the Emperor wants you dead. Again, Maul's back to saying chains can be broken. I believe that is being directed towards Devon, more than likely to better convince her to become his apprentice, more than likely. There's Devon here. This is probably in the Republic gunship she commandeered by stabbing that clone pilot. She's saying, hang on. So it looks like she's probably piloting and getting away while Brander's in there. So not only is the Empire looking for Maul, it seems they're also going to be looking for Devon and maybe even Brander. Maybe Brander does something that pisses the Empire off. Maybe he helps Maul. Who knows? I mean, when you're talking about a planet like Janix where there's a delicate balance, a democratic balance between the criminal underworld and its police force, you never know what that police force may be like. You know, they might just operate under the mode of, hey, as long as there's this relative peace between these criminals and citizens, who cares what happens? But it looks like at some point, Devon, Brander link up, probably by circumstance, and they're trying to get away from the Empire after commandeering a gunship. Here we got this bridge battle going on. Looks like on both sides you have TK units taking on a faction in the middle. Is this on Janix? It does look like it's down in a cavern. You have these bridge systems kind of connecting a valley or a chasm of sorts. So, you know, what's going on here? You really got to, like, you'd have to zoom in. But I could argue the people in the middle shooting at the people in front of them probably are Maul adjacent. You know, like helping Maul, part of Maul's faction, something like that. And again, Maul blocking his saber. I think that the action looked great in this trailer. I cannot wait for these fights with the Inquisitorious because, I mean, he just looks like he's giving them a run for their money. When he's fighting them, he's fighting TK troopers, and he looks absolutely poetic doing it. But like, here it is right here. You see this shot? And it's probably just the trailer being manipulated and the way it was edited together. But Maul definitely makes a strike through someone's torso. And the way the trailer's cut, you're made to believe it's Marrok. And it might be. Like, if you look, they've got, like, pauldrons, but these ones seem a little pointy. So maybe it's not exactly Marrok if you look back at this side, but maybe it is. I mean, like I said, there's a chance Maul kills Marrok and we learn more about his species. How was he brought back to life? Why does he kind of turn into the smoke in Ahsoka? Am I right on that, by the way? Does anyone remember Ahsoka and when Marrok's killed? Does he not, like, kind of, doesn't green smoke come out of his armor? Or am I crazy? Is this my supplements playing tricks on me, if you know what I mean? So, you know, when all this action's going on, you're just seeing Maul waylaying people with his lightsaber, tossing it around. So it's doing, you know, the helicopter twirl. And kind of the last thing here is, and empires can be shattered. So clearly, we know this. Maul has no love for Palpatine, hates him. He wanted to take him out with Ahsoka. He probably still hates him from killing Savage and locking him up back in the Clone Wars. So his motivation to be anti-Palpatine, anti-Empire makes complete sense to me. It's just not clear if he actually does kill Marrok, and if he does, how does Marrok come back? I think that's interesting stuff to learn, because I think they're putting Marrok in this series for a reason, because none of us knew who the hell he was in Ahsoka. And now, like, kind of all things Star Wars, sometimes when you introduce something new, you typically use prequels to flesh it out and maybe explain it better to fans so they're all not scratching their heads going, hey, what the hell? What's going on here? Were we supposed to know about this guy? You gotta remember, when Ahsoka came out and we saw him, we're like, who is that? You know, is it an Inquisitor? Is it just some random person? Is it a Jedi in the armor? I mean, it was wild, some of the speculation. Is that it? Is that the last shot? Yeah, that must be the last shot there of the trailer. So, that, you know, that's my breakdown. That's my take. Okay, League is saying Marrok does vape. Not sure what color. All right, thank you for that. But I don't know. I mean, I'm highly intrigued. I thought the trailer was fantastic. It definitely set enough up that we could start to speculate. It introduced a lot of the new characters, but it really gave nothing away. I mean, it's very hard to tell which way was up. But to me, my speculations are, I think Maul's going to show up on Janix, cause a stir on purpose. You know, like any mob boss would do, to kind of let him know, like, hey, I'm here, I'm back. We're going to start playing by my rules. This is what I want. Janix is a good place to do it. I think that's going to not only alert the Janix police forces and Brander Lawson, but it's probably going to capture the attention of Devon and her master who are on Janix, and it's definitely going to capture the attention of the Empire. So I do think Maul is going to be the impetus for bringing all sorts of shit down on Janix after it's kind of stayed relatively untouched by the Empire for the first 3 years of its reign. Within that time, he's going to make connections. Maybe he'll consolidate power. Maybe we'll see this is how he starts Crimson Dawn, takes it over, whatever. But I think one of the main plot lines in this series, season 1, is going to be his bond, or at least his attempt to convince Devon, a former Jedi Padawan on the run, to think differently, listen to his messaging, listen to his methods and his ways of doing things, to become his disciple, his apprentice. And I do think it is a cheeky nod to the fact that he and Darth Talon were supposed to link up in Lucas's sequel trilogy. And just kind of another, like I said, a little bit of fan service. I know fans would just prefer if her name was Talon instead of Devon, and that her skin was red instead of purple. But I do think this is a direct homage to the Talon character via this new character, Devon Izara. So, April 6th, I'll be here before you know it. We'll get the double drop. I'm more than likely going to do my usual full breakdowns, or, I'll create like a long form video going over my thoughts, things you might have missed, Easter eggs, stuff like that. And then, of course, we'll break the episodes down here on SWTS. All right, it's another long episode. See what happens when I'm here by myself and I spend the first 15 minutes lamenting current society. All right, my friends, let's go ahead and shift over to our fan segment, and let's put this episode of SWTS to bed so I can take a break. It is kind of physically exhausting to talk by yourself for, an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours straight. So let me go ahead and get some things pulled up here. We're going to move into the fan segment. We do it every week. We've got a question of the week, and we also have our top 5 Star Wars fan artist features. Question of the week, again, just like Ask Us Anything, you can get involved by following us on our socials, turn on those notifications, and when you see those prompts, interact with them. Leave your comment, and we'll read them during the question of the week. So let's go ahead and bring those up right now. All right, of course, you're not working down here. So there we go. So this week's question naturally was, and we always try to theme it around our main segment, is Maul a top 3 dark side character? Why or why not? We didn't get a lot of responses, so if you're still listening live here, go ahead and pop off in the chat with your own thoughts. Is Maul a top 3 dark side character? Why or why not? So first up, we got a response from one of our most loyal fans. That's my boy Kramer. And Kramer is saying, oh, absolutely, he's a top 3 character in my opinion for his role in the Siege of Mandalore and for his minor role in Star Wars Rebels and what his show is going to cover as well. You're correct. That is the right answer. He is definitely top 3. Next response, it's our buddy EKU Rory. He says he might be after the series right now, possibly. So clearly this man is wishy-washy and cannot pick a side. All right, so shame on you. And last but not least, we got YSR_Agha from Instagram. Top 3 dark side characters: Darth Sidious, Darth Vader, Mithra Naruto. All right, that wasn't the question, but here we are. Media literacy. So I guess that's one way to answer it. This is clear. YSR does not think Maul is a top 3 dark side character. All right, so that's question of the week. Now we're going to go ahead and start round and third, bringing this bad boy home, and we're going to do this week's top 5 Star Wars fan artist features. The way to get involved here, my friends, if you're new here, is this is all done through Instagram. Use the hashtag Star Wars Time Show, but more importantly, when you're getting ready to post your pick, click on the add tag and then tag at StarWarsTime.show, because that is where we will pull the top 5 candidates from. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and address the first top 5er this week, and it comes from one of our favorite handles on Instagram, Boozy Manchild. I still contend it's one of the best handles of all time. There's nothing wrong with being a bit boozy and a man-child, so you merge them together and you create almost a superhero handle, the boozy man-child. And what Boozy has here, he's got a stylized Yoda figure. I actually think this is from the Disney Infinity playset of Yoda. Yoda's on like a desert. There's some sand particles going up. He's got his lightsaber lit. He's pushing the force. But in true Boozy style, Boozy always kind of has like this, it's almost like a glowing haze in all of his shots that I've always appreciated. But I think one of my favorite things about this shot from Boozy this week is his signature in the bottom right corner. I just love that touch. I think it's fantastic. It's like, it solidifies this as art. And, it's something you could have hanging on the wall. They'd be like, damn, you got a Boozy man-child piece? And I'd be like, damn, Skippy, I do. So great stuff here from Boozy Man-child over on Instagram. Next up, this is a fantastic kind of alt Star Wars universe, alien universe mashup here. And this comes from a kind of someone we've known from a long time in the toy photography community. Kill Cutter Photo, all one word. Fantastic creator over on that platform. But what we're looking at here, if you're not live, we've got the blue leader from Rogue One. I forget his name. It's General something. But he's on an operating table, and you've got Akbar there. You've got other rebel pilots, other rebel soldiers there. And the poor blue leader is having a chest burster pop out of his chest. The work here, the staging in this shot is absolutely fantastic. He's on like this medical bed. There's like a view of what the chest burster looks like inside the character's stomach as it's popping out. Akbar is like, oh my God, and then you've got, just like I said, some other pilots and rebels looking on. It's just fantastic. In the background, you got face huggers. It's just a fantastic, pretty much all practically set up shot from Kill Cutter Photo on Instagram. So go give them a follow if you're not doing so already. Okay, next one here. This is one of my personal favorite toy photographers. See, I'm starting to lose my ability to speak, just like Jar Jar. But this one's from Toy Realms. She's fantastic with the little guys, the 3 3/4 inch, the 1/18 scale figures. Just always creates very dynamic, real world looking scenes. This one's no different. You've got a Republic gunship on the ground. You got a bunch of 501 clone troopers kind of mustering around it. It just looks great. I mean, all her work looks like she is a wartime photographer following the clones, following the separatists, and snapping up these shots to show people what it's like to be on a field of battle. So another great shot here from Toy Realms on Instagram. Up next in this week's top 5, we got a great scene here from Rainbird 1987, all one word on Instagram. And his subjects, we've got Bo-Katan and Casca Reeves, and it looks like they're sneaking around in some Imperial facility. So I really just appreciate Rainbird's staging here. The posing is also great. You kind of got Bo and Casca behind these boxes, getting ready to pounce, but Bo's kind of holding, Casca's holding Bo back. Like, hey, wait for the perfect time. You've got stormtroopers running that are probably about to get capped. So, like I said, I just think it's a well-staged shot scene from Rainbird 1987 on Instagram. And then our last top 5 of the week comes from Super Dragonfire _photo on the IG. And listen, man, it's just a really cool, dynamically posed shot of Vader fighting Obi-Wan. And I think my favorite part here, it's not so much Super Dragonfire, kind of like Boozy Man-child. It likes these almost like, I don't want to know what, it's like a haze, like a glowing haze to their shots. But what drew me to this shot and what earned it a top 5 nomination this week is some of the reflections that are in Vader's helmet of the saber, but it's really Vader's pose. I mean, Obi-Wan's attacking him, but Vader's back is towards him. So Vader's like flipping his lightsaber behind him to deflect the blow, and it just looks great. I mean, it's a well executed pose of a toy, and anyone that's ever done any sort of toy photography, have worked with miniatures, other subjects that aren't humans. Sometimes getting them to pose is a major pain in the ass. That they'll fall over, their joints don't bend the way you need them to bend. And, you know, if you're a nut job like me, it can get so frustrating you start ripping the figures apart and breaking them, even though you spent a lot of money on them. But what Super Dragonfire has achieved here with Vader's pose is just, it's nothing short of perfection. So great shot, Super Dragonfire _photo on Instagram. All right, people, that's it. Another solo live in the books. Hopefully enjoyed it. I know it started a little rocky there, but you know, as it usually goes on the Star Wars Time Show, as shitty as I may be feeling coming into it, it's a form of therapy. I get to sit here and just talk to a bunch of randos on the internet that either hang out with me in Discord, or, you know, maybe we've met at a celebration or something in the past, but it kind of gives me a little bit of respite, you know, an hour and a half, 2 hours to pretend again that the world is normal and America still upholds its constitutional values. So I appreciate you all. 2 new subs, thank you. If you are new here and you're still watching and you don't completely hate me yet based on the opening of the show, or you think I might think this way or that way and it goes against the way you think, I'd still like you to consider at least sub to the channel. It's not going to hurt you. It doesn't cost anything. If you want to take your Star Wars Time Show fandom to the next level, though, I'd love you to consider joining as a channel member. You can hit that button down below in the video and start for as low as $1.99. You'll get yourself the Darth Vader cat next to your name in YouTube chats, and you'll also get exclusive access to custom Star Wars emojis to use in YouTube live stream communications. All right, so next week, I'm not sure if we'll be doing a live again or if I'll do a pre-record with Nick. Well, we're definitely going to have to get together and start meeting about Maul and how we're going to cover that, because I have a feeling he's not going to want to do live breakdowns Wednesday nights. So we'll figure something out. But I can almost assure you, if you know, we're not locked up or the planet hasn't exploded by April, I will be covering Maul in some form or fashion. So stay tuned to the SWTS. There's always time for Star Wars time. And if you listen to this nonsense, the Force will be with you always.